When the client says, how much is it? And you say, well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that nerve-wracking scenario when a prospective client or a returning client asks you about the price before you've even had a chance to describe what it is that they're actually buying. Now, as we've mentioned before, there are many types of buying behavior, and some people cannot move ahead until they've beaten you down on price. And I call them the budgies because their song is cheap, cheap, cheaper, and that's all they want. But actually, we're not necessarily talking about budgies here, because many of the clients who ask that question may genuinely want to know early on in the piece to decide whether they can actually afford your services or your product. Now, the problem with that is they probably don't have enough information to make a well-formed decision at the start of the conversation. Now, your answer is going to depend on where you are in the cycle of discussing and presenting your services or products to the client. If your client asks, how much is it, or what does it cost? Within a couple of minutes of the conversation starting, it means that they want to get straight to the bottom line. It doesn't mean that they know enough yet to judge the relative merits of your services or products, for example, against your competitor. It just means that they're using just one variable to make a decision, which is the price. The problem is, if you tell them at that stage, you've lost control of the conversation, because all the cool benefits and features that you wanted to give them to help them make a really good decision have just gone out the window. They'll say, no, that's too much, or no, that's not what we budgeted for, or no, we can get the same thing cheaper somewhere else, and all of a sudden you're in a different kind of an argument. And it's unlikely they will listen to anything more that you have to say, because now the conversation flow has been so disrupted and distorted. And then you have to scramble into what I call justification mode. Oh, but our products are so much better. Oh, but they can do these amazing things. And now you're just sounding like a low-level salesperson trying to batter the client with information to make them change their mind, and that just doesn't work. So here's the biggest rookie mistake that you can possibly commit. When the client asks you, how much is it? And you say, what's your budget? When I get asked this stupid question by somebody selling me their products or services, I normally say, 0. And then they're utterly, what? I mean, how can you possibly recover from that answer? You can't. The next thing that happens is that you find out you're now pricing on a zero-based method like a layer cake, which squeezes out profit faster than a squeegee mop. So, what do you say in response to that question, where you haven't had the chance to go through the things in detail so they can make an informed choice? Well, here's a couple of options. Option 1 I call the unlikely max answer. Not the Mad Max answer, the unlikely max answer. So how does this go? Well, probably something like this. Well, it depends on what we put into the mix. I'm pretty certain that it won't be above $10,000, let's say. Are you comfortable with that upper range? And their response might be, yeah, in which case you then go through the rest of the information that you'd intended to give them and you close the sale. But if you get the more likely answer, oh, well, I don't think I can afford that, or that's outside the budget range we were thinking of, then obviously it gives you the perfect opportunity to say, I absolutely get that. So let's keep talking so I know exactly what it is that you're looking for, and then I can give you a much more accurate and very, very likely much lower price. And then you can go into the details of what you're offering, and you can create little mini price points that should add up to substantially less than the unlikely max number. This will also create the impression in the client's subconscious that they're saving money by going into this detail, whereas in actual fact you are gently leading them through to the price that you had in mind in the first place. Tricky, huh? Option 2 is what I call the range finder answer. This is where you give a range of prices. The trick here is to not set your actual price at the midpoint of the range, but a little bit below it, maybe 40% of the range. Okay, once again, this creates a favorable subconscious impression in the client's mind that they were right to have asked, and that now you can have a good discussion about the product because they're comfortable with it. There's a range and they can kind of find the right point in it. And that range creates some certainty for the client. So maybe it's something like this. Let's say you're a website developer and the client asks you, so how much will it cost me to have a website built which is mobile responsive and can handle high traffic? Well, Mr. Client, depending on a few factors, pricing will be anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000. And then you say, how do you feel about that as a range? And wait for them to answer. Now, if they say that the range works for them, then you can say, okay, now I just need to ask you a few quick questions in order to get a clear idea of exactly what you're looking for so that I can give you a more accurate number. Would that be okay? If you had to choose between X and Y, which would you choose and why would you choose that? This will help me work out a more accurate price based on your needs. And as soon as possible, then get back into your flow about the features, advantages, and benefits of your services or products. It's all about controlling the flow of the conversation and not giving away your power, and revealing the price too early will do just that. Here's another little tip. That we've said there's a range between 5,000 and 10,000. Don't just split the difference and say, oh yeah, my price is going to be 7,500. Use a little bit of psychology here. Make it 7,000. And then the client thinks what you've really done is accurately costed out, based on the conversation, the right price. You haven't just plucked a number out of the air, which happens to be the obvious one of 7,500, okay? Now there's a right time in the conversation to reveal the price, and that is when you have given the prospective client enough information for them to make a value-based decision rather than just a price-based decision. The most important thing to do is to help the client be absolutely clear about what they want, and then to keep reaffirming where they are in the range as you lock down the elements with them. Because at the end of the conversation, if they say, well, I want these things, but the price is too high, then it's very easy for you to say, okay, well, what can we take out? What would you like me not to do? You're still totally in charge of the process. You've just reduced the scope of work, which therefore means you reduce the scope of the range. Now, the 3-ton elephant in the room that you have to really get your head around is that you must know your pricing in fine and accurate detail. And that requires some work. You need to be able to build up your hourly rates so that you know what the prices are. Absolutely covers what you need to exist, not just the price for this particular piece of work. And you clearly need to know what your price is, that price below which you will not work under any circumstances for anyone. But if you have all your pricing variables either filed away on your memory or written down in a notebook so you can bring it out and refer to it, you'll establish even more certainty in the client's mind that you're not just making up numbers to try and get the deal. You actually have a structured process for getting to a price. And then it's up to the client to accept it or reject it, or ask for some discount. But you, oh clever clogs, you're already prepared for this, aren't you? And you've baked in enough to be able to give as a discount, which brings you back to your original number. Haven't you? Haven't you? We have a free training which covers this particular issue and a number of other issues about how to get clients and so on. And all you need to do is click on the link below, and we'll see you later.